working with a fair amount of early stage founders that are building in this environment. Have you got any advice for them at this time?
Yeah, I think you touched upon it earlier, right? The fundraising is tough, and then I don't think I addressed that directly. So maybe I can answer it in the context of this, which I think
That's great.
Fundraising is tough for everyone, but it is unevenly tough, if that makes sense. So I think companies with real traction, real customers, and a clear market to win over the ones who have a vision but very limited evidence at the moment. So that is what you need to think about as a founder. And look, I totally understand you're building something and it is your baby and you love it and you're really like focused on it, and then the market is actually responding to you in a way that's not validating your idea. This is very, very tough to accept, but it is not a market that you can raise on vision and potential. This is a market that you have to have genuine technical differentiation, very strong founding team, rapid revenue growth potential. You're solving a clear problem that is relevant today, right? And you're really looking at real adoption, real users. You're looking at infrastructure that enables new markets. There is a new agentic, digital autonomous economy that is evolving as we speak. There is a lot of infrastructure that is missing. Big companies, our big Anthropics, our big OpenAIs, our big Googles are building, but there are areas, where even Web3 founders, in my opinion, having the blockchain rails can really enable, trust, coordination, also financial transactions on a more autonomous basis. And so these are examples maybe where you could be building something that is actually, I think, going to become relevant very, very fast. In the next 6 months, I think we're going to see much more need and demand for these infrastructure plays. But this is just an example. I'm just using it to help, my argument a little bit. But overall, if it's just about token speculation, if you're doing a DeFi copycat protocol, if you're going out there without really thinking about the business model, if it's not a sustainable business model, if it doesn't have revenue growth potential right now, and hopefully forever, and honestly, but right now for sure, you will not have a chance to raise, because investors also got sharper. And we also have to invest in companies where we can really underwrite the risk. And at the moment, I think the risk profile is much higher in terms of we want to reduce the risk significantly more than in a bull market, and when the sentiment was definitely different a while ago.
So what does an investable product look like to you?
So I would say, again, the market isn't rewarding potential. The market is rewarding proof, right? So real customer demand, real adoption, clear execution, understanding that this market may be not as bullish for a while. We don't know. So raising enough money at a viable valuation in order to, sustain longer periods of drought potentially, right? So I would say the challenge is that we need to see evidence, and this is a much bigger need than it was a few years ago. So really think about
the commercial side.
Yes. And honestly, even say that you raise venture money, build a business that can live without venture money, in later iterations, because you as a founder, you want to not give away as much equity, maybe, probably, right? Or you want to bring in strategic investors that are helping your growth. But you also want to build a business that is sustainable, and that is, if you want to be acquired, that is an attractive acquisition company, or if you want to go IPO, that you are actually building a sustainable company based on fundamentals. And I think we had a very different view of this a
Yeah,
while ago.
but it wasn't even that long ago, to
Yeah,
be
it
honest.
wasn't that long. Yeah,
But this
exactly.
is obviously I've got a very large investor network, and this has been the primary thing within every conversation when I ask that question. So, what does it actually take to be investable? Market traction, demand, validating the demand, validating that this is actually a gap to be fulfilled, which I think does put founders in a very difficult situation. It's a bit chicken and egg. But there is so much that you can do nowadays, like yeah, with AI, with putting a lot of skin in the game of, and I think it's a good thing. I think we're in a good position where we're having to be a little bit more serious. We're having to think about sustainability because it's going to make our industry level up. Because it's not sustainable to have huge amounts of capital flowing into projects that aren't sustainable. So it does need to happen.
I completely agree. And to maybe, also show the other side of the coin, VCs also have to adapt. It's not just founders, it's actually specifically Web3 VCs,
Yeah.
because we are now also competing against AI, because AI will allow you to get a whole fleet of engineers at a much, at a fraction of the cost that you would have had to, raise venture money to hire all the engineers, for example, and the marketing team, and the right now.
Mhm.
A lot of this can actually be done through, consistently improving AI mechanisms. So arguably, founders don't need as much capital as they used to, and so it is also important for the VCs to adapt. We all need to adapt, right, to a new and evolving world. And there are, of course, lots of issues with the AI and hallucination. And I still
Mhm.
believe a human touch and human experience is very, 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 very important. But on the grand scheme of things, a person in college can probably build a prototype now very, very fast, or even a website for their project, and check
Mhm.
out, how much demand there is to put their name on the whitelist in a much, much cheaper and quicker time frame than it was even 2 years ago, where you thought twice if you hire an engineer to help you build out your initial prototype if you maybe don't have capital to start with.
Yeah, and I think that is the assumption for sure. But because we're in such an early space within this, and because it's happening at such a rapid rate, and
Mm.
there's this huge expectation that we can build more, ship more, do more, and there's like mounting pressure. Like there's almost like AI burnout that's kind of creeping up on people. For me, like I'm genuinely 70% more productive, but like what does that mean? That means I also then need to catch up with all the other things, but that's another side of it.
It's true. No, I completely agree. I think it's there's always two sides, and there's always cons for sure, but
Yeah.
I do think that we all have to, and are
Oh,
allowed to, adapt to a new technological landscape.
we have to. We absolutely have to, but I'm just wondering, in 2 3 years, how's that going to look? What will be the result of it? And then I think it can be truly accessible on the quality, on, has there been more unicorns? Have there been more successful companies? Is the output better? Are we actually doing better marketing through using AI? Are we building better products? Because I think it's now really exciting. We've got this like brand new shiny toy, and it's like really, really attractive, and everyone's like going crazy over it, but we haven't really got the data yet. I think we're starting to, but it's going to be very interesting how VCs will adapt, how startups will adapt, how founders will adapt, um, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it's actually going to shape the world of business, especially in tech.
Completely agree. And I think you mentioned it as well. And probably the answer lies somewhere in the middle, right? That you use AI as a
Mhm.
support and a productivity tool, and a way to enhance features, but potentially not to fully replace experience, to fully replace innovative, first principle thinking, with maybe more generic products that fail fast, which again, like you said, we will see. I'm also looking forward to the data, but it is important for all of us to stay
It's
awake.
almost like we're all having to acquire a new skill of understanding what should and shouldn't be automated,
Yeah, yeah. And become orchestrators, right? Like kind of
Yeah.
it,
Like, yeah, you're like, should I, be doing this with the team, or maybe I should brainstorm a bit with AI first. Like, it's very, very interesting, and I think we'll all figure it out. But right now, it's so new, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the companies that crop up that are just completely done like solo foundership. And there's a lot of noise right now, but the real data, like we were just saying, it's going to be very interesting for sure.